I'm Sharon Larmer, one of the co-founders.
I'm Kim Kong, the other co-founder.
And today we're going to talk about an exciting new development. Skype just announced that they've got a translation tool out. So Microsoft bought Skype a couple of years ago, I think, right?
More than a couple of years ago
More
now, I
than a
think.
couple, right? We were just talking about how technology has advanced quite quickly.
Yeah.
We've been left behind. But yeah, and so Skype is owned by Microsoft. Microsoft have a translation tool that they've been working on in-house for about the past 15 years. And they just demoed it at a recent tech conference. And it looks like a really great tool, right? You took a look at it too.
Yeah, we saw the demo, and it was very impressive. Didn't go perfectly, which was good, because I would actually be a bit more suspicious if it went completely perfectly.
Yeah, the poor engineer looked a bit embarrassed.
Yeah,
but it was good.
It was. They had it translating from German to English and from English to German, and it was pretty impressive. There wasn't much of a delay. It was fairly accurate. I certainly think that, if you were having a conversation with someone and it was translating for you, you could get the gist of what they were saying.
Right.
Or ask them to repeat.
I think so. I mean, definitely it was easily understandable. It was two totally different people. It was one, seems like sort of Indian American guy and one German woman. And both of their accents were being coped with quite well, right?
Yeah.
We didn't seem to have that accent problem, so I think that's kind of the problem we have with some of these translation tools, is if you don't have the right accent, it doesn't capture what you've got to say.
Right. We've experienced it maybe with a couple of programs where it's tuned into my mid-Atlantic accent, and then it goes and tries to translate yours or write down yours, and it doesn't go nearly as well.
Right. Google Captions does that for me. I don't think it's even English. It's right down there. It's just like, what is that? Is that really how this machine thinks I sound and what I'm saying?
Yeah, just a bunch of random noises.
I know, right? Just wonderful. So anyway, so it was a little bit better than that, which is really good. But it's exciting for us, I think, just for the sort of expat community, for international business as well, that you're actually going to be able to work with other people. Yeah, as long as you have a sort of pattern of speech with them. So it seemed like it took, 10 seconds to translate from a sentence into translating on screen in the text, and then you could respond. So it didn't actually take that long to go back and forward between the two things.
I'd say it was no more of a delay than you used to get in the 80s with long-distance phone calls, international phone calls.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be a delay and sometimes an echo. So I don't think that with Skype, with the demo they did, it wasn't much longer than that.
Right. No, it seemed like an excellent tool. I was wondering about how this would impact sort of the different kinds of training going around the world. I mean, my thought about this was that this tool would be easily applicable in language schools.
Yeah.
For people who wanted to learn a foreign language, you'd easily be able to Skype with somebody and have it translated for you, and then repeat it back and learn both at the same time, right? Which is something that is sometimes more difficult, more complicated with technology just now, to learn how to write and how to speak with someone in their language.
I think that, that's definitely one possibility. I was thinking about how this may increase the number of international assignments we see, or at least the number of international business trips, as, a lot of times there's, it's a lot more difficult to get people, in the same business in different countries to have meetings, to be able to understand each other really without interpreters, to have that all lined up. If you could just Skype your opposite number in Japan, say, in a company that's similar to yours, and strike up a working relationship with that person over Skype very easily, then there'd be a lot more interest in people going and saying, spend a month here, 6 months over there, and things like that.
Right. So you think it was actually encourage people to travel rather than make it easier for them not to travel? travel?
Yeah, I think it would encourage people to travel for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if as you said about the language schools and things, that would be, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
less of a need for people to go to these new foreign language schools.
Right.
But they may want to go, they may learn, that may just widen the number of people learning foreign languages who they
Mm-hmm.
then want to go to the country
Right.
and,
Yeah, I mean,
demonstrate their proficiency.
yeah, I suppose what it does is helps you become more proficient more quickly, and
Mhm.
also breaks down that barrier where you actually need to be really confident to
Right.
be proficient in another language. I think that there's a lot of things like that, especially when you're doing business, that even if you're fluent in another language, you often see people with a translator who specializes in it. And I think that's because a lot of people feel that the problem here is that, maybe you get it wrong and you can't afford to get it wrong,
Right.
You could never really afford to make that blunder that
Right.
that ruins everything. So you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to have the translator just to make sure that I'm kind of doing it right.
Sitcom kind of blunder when you
Yeah.
think you're speaking Hebrew and you're speaking Klingon.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Which show was that?
That was Frasier.
Frasier, that's right.
At his son's bar mitzvah.
Yes, I think that was Payback, right?
Yeah. But I think that, yeah, you might see a reduction in kind of short-term business trips.
Right, commuter trips go down.
Right, and a rise in maybe the longer-term trips.
Right.
And so I think it'd be interesting to see. I mean, it's pretty exciting because it is one of these, speaking of Star Trek, one of these kind of science fiction staples of a future world that was necessary, that you need a universal translator to be able to do all the translating for you, of all languages. And, that's, I think, if it actually does become, reliable and, and widely used, and, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Skype has a huge reach as it is.
Right.
So, I mean, they've already got the huge platform for it. We were talking about how, there would be people who are like, developers waiting to add like, specialized Skype terminology things for this translation software.
Like a medical
exactly,
app or an engineering app, an architecture app,
right,
this kind of thing.
Yeah, so for technical language.
Yeah, technical language that you could easily add on to your translation tool. I think that would be an interesting market, definitely. I wonder how it will affect sort of people's perceptions of requirements for visas. I know one of the things that we heard about while we were living in London was that because the British government has a kind of anti-immigration policy, that they were sort of having difficulty giving out student visas, and students were being deported. And one of the things that was happening was that they were targeting language schools.
Right.
So, I mean, this gives a sort of way to validate language schools as well, that this is why people are coming. I think that there was an undercurrent that maybe wasn't for a student visa, it was just to get into the country, and so they didn't like that. And this seemed like the easiest way to go. But obviously something like a Skype course with a residential component would underline that you are actually there to learn the language and not there because you want to gain residency in a country.
Right.
Not that I think you should be excluded from applying for residency if you want to move to that kind of status. I think it's important to open your doors for people who want to live in your country too.
Right, exactly.
So hopefully that will resolve one of those problems. Handily, Skype is based in London.
Yeah,
so maybe,
exactly.
maybe they can help break down those barriers. That's how they were presenting this particular product, is that they're breaking down cost barriers, and they're breaking down distance barriers, and now they're breaking down sort of visual barriers as well, so you can see what people are doing, the experience barrier. And now they're trying to break down this huge barrier that they see, a language barrier. So I think of those things themselves as very progressive and about connecting and integrating people. So I hope that has some impact on that kind of very negative sort of community that doesn't see people who have different languages as a sort of an important part of your community too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of broadening for the expat community,
Mm.
what Skype will be regularly used for. I mean, for my experience, I saw the expat community, Skype was the way to stay in touch with home.
Right.
And it was, cheap,
Yeah.
easy way to, like, just
Mhm.
connect with your family or friends back home when
Right.
traveling. A lot of people we saw, like, Skyped every day. They had their kind of
Uh-huh.
Skype time
Right.
each day kind of blocked out and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And now it'll be more like, people who are traveling when they're back home,
Mhm.
staying not just in touch with their friends, but
Right.
making new friends in new countries before they go.
Right. You can imagine a lot of school children, the traditional, pen pal.
Right,
Your
exactly.
Skype
But now
pal.
you got to translate it. You don't need to
Yeah,
actually have,
exactly.
like, proficient into multiple languages.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could just really transform language learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really interesting tool. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that there's often this sort of, and it seems like I'm taking all the bad stuff today, the undercurrent is that if you don't speak the language, your international assignment would be a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of one of the sort of interesting parts of it. You need to learn the language, but often you don't need to be proficient in the
Right.
language, which I think is what we're trying to say, and that your skills are actually different. A lot of places you go around the world, everybody wants to learn English for business, and that this might have some impact
Mm-hmm.
on that. And I think the best impact it can have is opening your mind to the idea that, these sort of very basic things are not what travel is all about.
Right.
Like, sort of releasing you from the idea, I can't go and live in France because I don't speak French, and I can't go, India because I don't speak Hindu or
Indeed.
Hindi, or can't go to Pakistan, I don't speak Urdu, and
Mm-hmm.
these kinds of things. So I think that's a really transformative approach to sort of language learning, that we're really not going to have to be, there's no constraint there.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's definitely a good thing.
I certainly see it in transforming journalism a bit in that way. I mean,
Mm.
there's always a thing of, you got to send someone to cover something or interview someone who's fluent in the language, and of course that's necessary, especially if you're writing about it.
Right.
But it'll start to change it greatly, because I think that people will say, I'm going to go directly interview this person. I'm not going to go through the local
Mm-hmm.
reporter or the stringer
Right.
or hire someone else to do that.
Yeah.
I'll just get them in touch and we'll do it, and we don't have to worry about a translator. We'll do a Skype translation.
Right. Definitely. So I mean, that's
And
a
then
much better
that person
tool,
will
right?
blame Skype for misquoting them.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Skype will have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Then
That's not what we have to worry about.
just blame Skype.
No, it was Skype. So I think, it's a really fascinating step forward, and because of how well it worked, I think it's really close to being a product. I mean, I think they're talking about 8 months for it to be released. So
if it lives up to its demonstration, it'll be game changing. It'll be really impressive.
Yeah, it is. It was a very impressive tool. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely. So I don't have anything else I wanted to mention about that just now.
No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty exciting thing, and I'm going to keep an eye on it and see how it develops, and hopefully it gets pushed out on time.
Right,
because I'm really actually anxious to use it. Yeah,
I would like to use it too. It'll make it really, really easy. I wonder how their competitors are feeling about that.
I don't know. Then Dragon's going to be trying to partner with someone like FaceTime or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
making a whole new market for smaller companies like Dragon who do speech recognition.
Right.
And maybe need another.
Yeah,
person,
like maybe texting services that automatically translates your phone text or something like that.
I know.
Right. So, something to watch.
Definitely something to watch. Okay, well that's it for us for today, so we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.